Hi, I'm Suzanne Lynn, and welcome to the Builders Podcast. We're glad that you're joining us today. We've got a couple really interesting, engaging guests. We've got Leigh Gerstenberger, who's going to be the speaker at the October 10th Christian Chamber event. And then we've got Servola Frazier, and she's really involved in women camp. And we want you to stick around, get to know them a little bit better, and hope that you're inspired.
The Central Florida Christian Chamber and Triangle Media welcome you to the Builders Podcast, spotlighting Christian business leaders and their stories of faith, leadership, and success. Here's your host, Suzanne Lynn.
Hi, and welcome to the Builders Podcast. I'm Suzanne Lynn, and today, we're going to be joined by Leigh Gerstenberger. And Leigh, as I was trying to put together your bio, wow, you've accomplished a lot. You're doing a lot right now. So I'm just going to try to make this kind of a nutshell, but I hope that you'll help me expand on it a little bit. You've been 30 years in the financial services industry.
Right.
You are very passionate about helping men find their calling with God and what their purpose is. And you've got a consulting firm, Inspiring, Intriguing Ideas. So thank you for joining us from Pittsburgh. That is a big load of bio information to start on. So where do we begin?
Well, it's nice to be with you. As you mentioned, I've spent my whole career in the financial services business, and along the way, I developed a passion for marketplace ministry, helping men and women, if you will, figure out what God's call is on their lives. I retired from a bank in Ohio, Huntington Bank, 2 years ago, and embarked on what I've euphemistically referred to as my encore career. And I think everybody should have a plan to, for their lives if they live to age 100. I'm not saying I'm going to live that long, but
Sure.
If I'm fortunate to live as long as my mother, who's 92, I want to make sure I'm doing something meaningful. And so I'm a relationship person, Suzanne. I enjoy connecting people. I love the Lord. I love the marketplace, and I've been fortunate to sort of marry my passion for people with the marketplace, and I've had a chance to share my faith in that setting, and that's part of what I'll be doing at the Chamber on the 10th of October.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to it. Can you kind of give us a little background? How did that 30 years in the financial industry bring you to where you are now?
I'm not sure it was the industry per se that brought us there. I spent most of my career in the banking world, and I'm what I refer to as an accidental banker. I'm the last person that ever should have worked at a bank. I never underwrote a credit. I never opened an account other than my own. But I'm a relationship person, and I think the banks that I was with, PNC Bank, which of course has a big presence in Central Florida, as well as Huntington Bank, which is more of a Midwest bank, I think they realized that the people that understood how to build relationships and help others build relationships were of value to them. And so I was very fortunate throughout my career, but particularly towards the end of my career, I was with a great organization that sort of let me be me in the marketplace, and I became an ambassador for that organization. I've sort of always been an ambassador for whatever organization I represented, and they sort of let me do my thing. And if part of my thing was ministry, they tolerated that in a very nice sort of way, and
Wow.
let me be who I was. And so, somebody said to me years ago, the wealthy man's the man doing what he loves to do, and that's a good way to describe the way most of my career went.
That's great. I mean, you're the epitome of grow where you're planted. It's so easy to look around and go, man, I wish I were here. I wish I was president of this. And you just took, sounds like every opportunity where you were at. You had great leadership. People created atmospheres where you could really grow, and you took advantage of that. And in turn, you're now paying it forward. You're helping others grow.
Well, I'm trying to. I did a lot of recruiting in my career, and I did a lot of coaching and mentoring of people that worked for me. And even when I didn't have an opening, I spent a lot of time helping people figure out, does their resume represent them as effectively as it can, and how's their network in terms of helping them promote themselves. And so that's sort of my LLC is called Strategic Connecting, and so that's really what I do. And the Inspiring, Intriguing Ideas is sort of the tagline that has come with that, and just trying to get people to figure out what God's purpose is for them, and whether it's them individually or their business, how to fulfill God's plan for them. And not that I'm an expert at that, but if nothing else, I try to be an encourager, and that's a good place to start when you're working with people.
You got that right. What do you think it means? What's the difference between leadership and a boss?
Oh, well, I guess a boss would be more like a manager. They're task oriented, trying to get the job done, make sure the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. I think the leadership, you know, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to describe it, but I think if you're in leadership, you're investing in people, and you feel like you've made an investment, and there's a certain level of care and concern that you have that you may or may not have if you're just a manager or just a boss, and so. I always found that I invested heavily in the folks that I worked with, and partly because a lot of people have invested in me over the years, and so the idea of paying it forward, resonates with me. So I think a lot of it is how you view what your role is. I sort of view what I was doing as a calling, and developing people is one of the highest callings that there is out there, and that's what I tried to do in most of my career.
What a great title, people developer. I mean, that's beautiful. I guess the first place that people have to start to find out what they're calling with God is to ask the question, right? They've got to realize that there is a calling that God has planned for them.
Well, yeah, or even realize that there's a question to be asked. I mean, again, the workplace, not everybody you're working with comes to work with a sacred perspective or a spiritual mindset. And so, a lot of people that I've worked with over the years just trying to, get the promotion, do better, hit their goals, advance, be number one in the stack ranking report. And while there's nothing wrong with any of that intrinsically, I think there's a point in time in everybody's life when they start to realize, it's the halftime story. We start working in our careers to survive. Then we want to be successful. But at some point, there's that switch that goes off in a man or a woman's mind where it says, is this all there is? What I'm looking for is significance. And so if you can come alongside people when they're asking those questions about what can I do that has significance? What can I do that they start thinking about their legacy, what they want their legacy to be? That's a really interesting time to be building relationships with people and mentoring and coaching them and just listening to them.
Mm-hmm. So you're speaking at the Christian Chamber on October the 10th. What is the feeling people are going to leave with? What inspiration are you going to leave them with?
Well, I hope I leave them, if they haven't started thinking about where the Lord might be calling them in their life, they'll walk out of there at least wondering. Because what I hope to do is share a number of examples of, from my own life, as well as people that I've come in contact with over my career that have a calling. And some of these people are, they're not necessarily successful CEOs of companies, although there are some. I know a woman who works at a drive-in window at McDonald's who has a calling, and she ministers to customers all day long, and she ministers to the colleagues that she works with. And she's helped kids get off drugs because a lot of the folks that work at McDonald's are teenagers. She's helped to avoid aborting a couple of unwanted pregnancies. I mean, she's got a real calling, and she's a drive-through window attendant at a McDonald's in Strongsville, Ohio.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of a song by Stephen Curtis Chapman. Everything you do, do it for the Lord. So no matter what you're doing, no matter if you're flipping burgers or, you're doing huge contracts or whatever, do it for the Lord. So I love that. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Is there anything that we're missing on this show today?
Well, no, I just, I found my way to the chamber. I'm a member of the chamber. I met Mark Goldstein over 2 years ago through a discussion group I'm part of called Pinnacle Forum. And Mark and I spent a couple months on a video chat with 6 or 8 other men every Tuesday morning. And he decided the video format wasn't for him. But I've been very involved in an organization called CLC, Christian Leadership Concepts, which is a 40-year-old men's discipleship ministry based in Nashville, Tennessee, that over 10,000 men have gone through in 120 cities in the U.S. and Canada over the last 40 years.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm on their national board, and last fall they asked me if I'd expand my role to be their national expansion director, helping establish groups in cities where CLC either had a foothold but hadn't a strong presence, or had a presence in the past and then that presence has sort of waned a little bit. And Orlando was the first area that they asked me to focus on. And so when I started going to Orlando every month last November for a week, I started to think, okay, who do I network with and how do I get connected? And I went through my Rolodex, it's really my phone directory,
Mark.
and came across Mark's name. And I thought,
Yeah.
boy, the guy that runs the Christian Chamber might be a good guy to get connected with. And so I was able to rekindle my friendship with Mark and introduce CLC to the Chamber. And now Mark's very involved with CLC, and we've got a couple groups started. And now I think I got Orlando moving in the right direction. I'm focused on Tampa and on Jacksonville, in addition to some other cities in the Southeast. So that's another little project I have in my spare time.
And you'll definitely be talking about that during your session on October 10th. Is that right?
Absolutely. CLC, I mean, there's over 250 men in Orlando that have done CLC over the last dozen or so years. There was a gentleman named Kent Sturkey, who was the area director, and he retired from CLC, still very involved in the Orlando faith community. But when he retired, CLC was never able to replace him. And so the 250 alumni, we haven't been shepherding them the way we probably should have or would have liked to, but we're now trying to sort of restart CLC. There's also a women's version of CLC called BLC, Becoming Like Christ. And while it's a separate organization from CLC, one of the women who serves on the BLC board lives in Orlando, and there's actually trying to do a restart of BLC in the Central Florida area as well.
Very good. Well, you're hitting a lot of different lives and making a difference. Thank you so much. We're really looking forward to your session on October the 10th. And if anybody wants to get a hold of you ahead of time, how can they do that?
Well, they can email me at hlg123@gmail. They can go to my website, strategic-connecting.com, or they can call me on my cell, 412-370-4565.
That's pretty nice, having the cell connection. I love it. Leigh, thank you. Enjoy your session on October 10th. Look forward to seeing you.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Thank you. Coming up next, we've got a very special lady. I think you're going to love her story. Servola Frazier is going to be up next on the Builders Podcast.
Do you have valuable information to share? Are you looking to build a relationship between your brand and your target audience? Are you able and willing to talk about your products, services, and/or industry on a regular basis? If you answered yes to these questions, then you or your organization needs a podcast. Podcasts are the new talk radio. 144 million Americans listen to podcasts, including 90 million on a monthly basis. Podcasts are in demand because consumers want information on demand, on the go, and in a personal, relatable way. At Triangle Media, we take care of every step of your organization's podcast. From idea creation to recording and editing through distribution, it couldn't be easier for you. We even offer white label podcasting services for agencies who want to offer podcasting to their clients. Contact Suzanne Lynn at trianglemedia.biz to learn more and ask about video podcasting too.
Hi, welcome to the Builders Podcast. I'm Suzanne Lynn with Triangle Media, and today we're talking to Servola Frazier. Servola, I'm so glad that you're here.
So great to be here. Thank you so much.
Do you have a ministry I can't wait to hear about? It's called Women Camp.
Yes.
And can you kind of give us an overview of what that's about?
So Women Camp, and let me just say, CAMP stands for Women Who Are Courageous, Anointed, Mighty, and Powerful. And the organization has been designed to help women in their personal, professional, and spiritual lives.
Wow.
We bring women together to empower them and to help them to recognize the purpose that God has in their lives so that they can continue to excel in every aspect of who they are.
Wow, this is kind of necessary because, I mean, as a woman, there's so much pressure on us. We're working, whether it's in the home or outside of the home, helping raise children. We're 10 places at one time.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
and we're depleted. And if we don't fill ourselves in the way that you're helping, we're empty. How can we possibly give if we're not filled ourselves?
That's true. And I love that, because there's a quote that by Eleanor Brown that says the exact thing, that you have to take the time to fill yourself up and take care of yourself, because if you don't, then you can't serve from an empty vessel. Mm-hmm. You can't give. So you have to get to that place of overflow. And that's what Women Camp is about, is helping women to be able to replenish themselves after they've given out so much.
What are some of the typical things that you hear women say that there's a concern about and that they need to be refilled on?
So some of the things that we hear from women saying that they're really concerned about is really being enough, really being heard and recognized in the work that they do, and even in just this idea of being a woman and what that means in the workplace, and how they can be at sometimes go-getters and very focused, laser focused on what they want, and how that can be misconstrued sometimes. So they want to learn how they can communicate that and really excel without people labeling them.
Boy, you said a lot right there. We have a way to go in the workforce. As far as raising children, having a family, and you come home and you're just dead tired. And sometimes you've spent everything before 6 o'clock, and the most important time is those 2 or 3 hours with your children.
Yes.
We need more.
Yes. And I think that it's important for women to recognize that we give out so much, and there's so much value in who we are as women, that as we step into our roles and step into our responsibilities, that when we're not able to give everything that we want to give, sometimes we take that personally. And a lot of times women just begin to feel, they come down so hard on themselves. Oh, if I can't make it to all the games, or if I can't do this at work, and don't let it be a compounding day.
I failed.
Absolutely. And so they begin to feel like one failure after another failure after another failure, then they identify themselves as a failure. Wow. And that's tough.
You are just, speaking to so many women right now. Yes. And the thing that I really love about you is your heart. I mean, you love women. This is just coming out of you in so many ways.
Yes. And it's so true, because I think I've been through this personally. My children are all grown and gone. I know I don't look it, but
no,
thank
you
God
don't.
for that.
You look about 21.
So. Thank God for that. But in this journey of walking with them and losing my identity as they got older, and as a mom, you start to feel like your identity was kind of wrapped up with your children. And then when they get older and they're like, I don't need you.
Right.
What? What do you mean you don't need me?
Yeah.
Who am I now?
Yeah.
Who am I supposed to be? And then you start wrapping yourself up in work, and then that changes. So you have one transition after another transition. And so you start trying to figure out, well, what did you bring me here for, God? What is it that you really want me to do? And Women Camp helps to focus that. That's why the spiritual aspect is so important, because we have to go back to our Creator to recognize and understand who we really are.
And you have a conference coming up.
Yes.
And I hope that everyone that sees this will not only come, but that they'll invite a girlfriend and say, let's do this together. We're going to walk hand in hand, and we're going to be filled together.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
So I am so excited about our launch conference. It is basically our vision and goal conference to help women to come together from all over to really hone in on why they're here, what their purpose is for the year, and to really get that focus. We pour so much into them and their spiritual aspect by just having devotion time and prayer time, and even in that professional piece, being able to answer those questions for those of you who are entrepreneurs and those of you who are career women who want to get to that next level. And then that personal piece, like how can you show up? How can you continue to achieve your health goals and your mental goals and different things like that in your life? And so we ball that all up into one.
Amazing.
At the conference. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful experience.
Wow. If someone wants to get a hold of you, maybe they want to be involved in more than the conference. I know that you've got chapters that are meeting. How can someone do that?
Yeah, so our website is womencamp.org, and they can go to the website. There's a link there where they can say, hey, we want to get involved. And they can click on the link to join or anything like that, and to find out when we have our upcoming chapter meeting. So that's really important.
Awesome. Is there anything that I missed that you definitely want to make sure that maybe that one woman needs to know?
Well, I just want to encourage you to just join us in what we're doing, because it's really helpful when women work together and when we help each other to be able, because we know what we're going through. And it's hard to be able to articulate that to others who may not understand where you're coming from. So be that girlfriend, be that sister to someone else who really needs that next encouragement to help them in their journey, and invite them. Say, hey, I'm going to Women Camp. What about you?
I bet there's going to be a lot of this going on.
Oh, yes.
I understand. I gotcha.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank
absolutely.
you. Thank you so much for being here today.
All right.
Thank you. Bless you.
Kisses.
This has been the Builders Podcast, presented by the Central Florida Christian Chamber and produced by Triangle Media. If you're interested in having a program like this for your business, contact Suzanne Lynn at trianglemedia.biz.